Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, if you can hear it, it's currently raining. Started raining, a little bit of thunderstorms about 3 a.m. this morning. Nothing severe. It's actually the kind of rain and thunderstorms. It's good, you know. It's just enough that it's coming down good, but not so much that it's flooding and washing stuff away. So this kind of rain's good. Should do this probably for a couple of more hours, but then come Sunday night, Monday, there's a chance for some pretty severe weather. And so because of that, Sunday's our meeting, if you haven't heard. And yes, we are still going to have it, but I'm going to try to get everyone out of there as early as possible so that you can get home before the storm comes in, because depending on where you live, it may be coming in, you know, early evening or something like that. So, but that's what's being planned for that. I don't know. I mean, it looks like it could be in some areas. They're already calling for, you know, higher chance of tornadoes and large hail and things like that. But it's still a couple of days out, so we'll see. Also, speaking of natural weather related and just natural things, it was a 4.0 earthquake yesterday at the New Madrid fault line. Now, these are at that level are not unprecedented. They do happen. They're just not common. I mean, that fault line is moving all the time, and, you know, getting little small ones of, you know, ones and twos are happening nearly daily. But a 4.0, that's a little bit more. It was felt in a region. So, and the reason why I'm bringing it up is, number one, just recently I mentioned how the scientists are saying that the Yellowstone caldera could be potentially getting in the mood. I mean, that could be still hundreds of years away, but it's kind of getting in the mood to blow, because they're noticing that magma, the lava, is starting to move closer to the surface. And then there's the New Madrid fault line, which, if any of you know anything about your history, that thing was pretty devastating, you know, 150-ish some years ago, 170 years ago. And that one, they're saying, could go anytime too. Here in Missouri, they've been putting out quite a bit of information, earthquake awareness. Even our organization, they've been, you know, I've been getting stuff sent to me, really pushing earthquake awareness type stuff, and we'll be doing a tabletop exercise here soon on that subject. Where I'm at, we're far enough away, and the geology is in such a way in the Ozarks that we would feel it for certain, but it shouldn't be devastating for us here. It would most of the energy would push east from that earthquake. But just thought I'd throw those out there, that, you know, those are a couple of other things to be thinking about in your preparations. I mean, I tell you all the time, don't discount natural stuff. I know that a lot of you say, well, these things aren't that natural anymore. They're manipulated and controlled. Yeah, yes, that's very likely true. But still, they're what would be considered natural occurrences and natural weather occurrences, and those can be extremely devastating. I mean, speaking of, and I wasn't planning on talking about this, but it just popped in my head. Speaking of manipulated weather, have you seen these reports out of the Middle East of all of a sudden they're getting, in areas that they haven't in a long time, they're getting all kinds of rain and stuff, and what they're saying is if you remember, especially in the first week or two of war with Iran knocked out all these big radar centers there in the Middle East, the United States military radar centers, and big ones. And I think it's something like 5 or 6 of them. And now all of a sudden they're getting rain, and Iran, that's been one of the things the last few years. They've been reported that they're running out of water because it's so dry. They've gone through such massive droughts, and I know some people are, well, it's the desert. Iran's not the desert, folks. It's not the desert. They're not goat herders. It's a very mountainous region. They're fairly modern compared to a lot of areas in the Middle East. They're not Afghanistan by any stretch of the means. But anyways, all of a sudden now, since that's happened, they've been getting all kinds of rain and snow up in the mountains and things that they have not seen for years. So a lot of people are starting to say that maybe those radar systems were actually trying to manipulate and control weather, weaponizing weather against Iran. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely possible. I mean, we were doing this back in Vietnam. And that's not a conspiracy theory. There's plenty of facts to show that we were absolutely doing that in Vietnam. So who knows? Moving on to other things. So was it last week or the week before? I've lost track of time. The Pentagon met with Ford, GM, General Electric, several other big manufacturers, mostly in the vehicle industry, engines and things like that. I've talking to them about switching their manufacturing over to military equipment. And I already talked about this. Most of you know that. Yesterday, it was reported that the White House met with banks executives, not necessarily for the same thing, but I find it a little interesting. They met with bank executives because, and this is what they're saying. So the Pentagon is using this AI program to plan out its battles. I've talked about that, many others. This is not a big state secret. And they discovered, strangely enough, that this AI is capable of basically quickly hacking in and taking over banks. This thing was very quickly able to do that. Now, I mean, the question, I guess, is how do they find that out? But anyways, so apparently the president and the White House called in all these bank executives at a short notice to say, hey, this stuff is capable of this. We need to work on security. And all that sounds pretty vanilla, but I almost wonder, was this also a little bit of a threat or blackmail? Like, hey, we have the capabilities of hacking your systems. Maybe you should, give us what we want, do everything that we want. I don't know. I just find it strange. Speaking of computers and AI, the U.S. government has contracted with Palantir. They've been doing a lot of contracting with Palantir. This time Palantir, and you guys know who Palantir is. Palantir is being contracted to develop AI systems to protect our food systems. So Palantir's AI is going to monitor and control food systems in the United States, the logistics of moving around, all that kind of stuff. That should be some warning signs right there, some red flags, flashing lights, something like that, because that's kind of dangerous. And then of course the war. Not a whole lot seems to be, prominent in the news right now, but there's definitely stuff going on. There's a third carrier strike group moving into the Middle East. It's planning on being there about the time that this ceasefire extension ends, okay? So, I reported a couple of days ago that there had been, during this ceasefire, as of a few days ago, there had been 819 flights of U.S. cargo planes going into the Middle East. That's a lot. We're talking like 50, 60 flights a day. And there's also been a different additional carrier strike group moving in. Now, the reason why that's significant, the last time there were 3 naval strike groups in the Middle East was back in 2003. The peak of the start of the war in Iraq. So it's an unusual thing. It does look like that there's a really big buildup for possibly an invasion or something like that. The president also yesterday, he's been talking, as you know, since the very beginning of this, that, it's going to end soon, or that the war has ended, or this will be wrapped up quick. It was started off as just a few days, and then a week or two, and then a month and a half, and now we're in 2 months. Anyways, so he was questioned yesterday by reporters, and he's like, I'm patient, and I'm willing to drag this out. The Vietnam War took 18 years, and you don't need to be worrying about how fast it'll get done and all this kind of stuff. In the way that Trump answers questions. But I think the thing that kind of alarmed people is that it's gone from this is going to end quickly to I may drag this out for a long time. He's talking about dragging out the blockade and all of this kind of stuff. So, as I warned in the beginning and throughout all of this conflict, that there is a strong possibility that this could be one of those things. We may not be in active, heated battle, but the whole situation could last for years. It could. I mean, it could easily be going on by the time his term is ended. So, this stuff is happening, folks. The AI, the beast system that's being built, all of it. You can see the pieces put together several years back on this channel. For those few of you that may still that are watching now that were watching then, I talked about this. I talked about how it's a big picture. Think of a museum or something, or an art gallery or whatever that has this massive painting on the wall. Big painting on the wall, right? With all this different stuff going on in this big painting. And you walk up to that painting, to the wall, to where your nose is almost touching the wall, and you open your eyes. How much of that painting do you see? Well, not much, right? But every time you take a step back and take a step back and take a step back, you're getting a bigger picture of what's going on with that painting. In a lot of ways, that's what all this stuff, and I mean, COVID was part of it. Stuff happened during Biden administration, during Trump's first administration, during Obama administration, the little pieces to the puzzle. And if you just are looking at that one piece, you're like, well, that's a good thing, or that's a sucky thing. But, I don't really know how that's connected to this over here. But when you start to step back and kind of take it all in, it starts to form a big picture, folks. And I think that many of us have stepped back enough now that we're really starting to understand it. We're starting to see it. We're starting to see the connections and the links. The people inside the White House, the ones that's really kind of moving things, people in other areas of government or private industry or foreign nations or different policies, different technologies, all this stuff that's happening. It's starting to get easier to put it all into a big picture and see what's going on. And so, as much as it may pain a few of you still to hear this, President Trump is very much bringing in the New World Order, Great Reset, Agenda 2030 beast system. It's all kind of the same thing. It may be slightly different, a little bit different twist or flavor. It's got his personality, I guess, in it. But it is what's happening. And so don't get distracted too much from all this stuff. I mean, don't be obsessed with it, but don't get distracted and think that, oh yeah, we're gonna make America great again. Oh yeah, it's America's gonna be great, America first, all this kind of stuff. It's all a psyop to keep you busy. They did it with the left. They got the left all busy and hoorah, and we're on top. We got Biden in office now, and we're getting all this stupid liberal stuff done. And now they've been keeping the conservatives busy so that they can continue and further and advance their work, their job. So, I mean, you got to get ready, because it's coming on quite quickly, folks. There's been enough happening. It's starting to come together. That engine. There's been enough pieces put together in that engine that it's getting to the point that it can start really roaring. And you need to get ready and get your houses in order. get preparing yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.